Whew, here we are, almost at the end of week 2. I just recorded a 15-minute video and it deleted, so I'm going to try it again. Hopefully this will take. I'm really enjoying what's taking place in class. I love, one of the things that I miss in a face-to-face class that we don't get to experience in the online is I don't get to actually talk with you live, right? So one of my favorite things to do is ask questions and to have you ask questions and then respond to your questions. So what I want to do in your responding to your introductions is I want to go through and I want to answer as many questions as I can in 15 minutes that you asked in your introductions. Okay, so let's just jump right into it, and I will answer a lot of questions. I think some of you have the same questions. Hopefully I'll answer as much as I can. If you have more questions, email me. I'm happy to answer even more questions for you, okay? All right. So I'm just going to do 2 questions that you have for me about this class, okay? How does this class typically impact students? It really depends on how much you put into it. I have seen it radically transform people's lives and the way that they think about the job they do. I had a friend the other day, we were talking, and I'm kind of in this like loosey-goosey a little bit. I love what I do. I've been teaching these courses, adjunct and full-time for the past 8 years. I don't put a lot of stock in what I do. Like, I'm not like, hey, my name is Jeff. I'm a faculty member. I'm a professor, or I do career development. All those things are great, but my identity is not found in what I do. And if anything, what I would love to have happen in every single person in this class, in every single person that comes through this course, whether I teach it or not, my hope would be the curriculum, the reading, the assignments, and so forth would be set forth in such a way that you would walk away and go, my identity is not in what I do, but in who I am and whose I am. So for me, my identity is not found in the work that I do, in my title, in my salary, in the institution for which I work. It's not found in my family. It's not found in my friends. My identity is found squarely and rooted in Christ. And when it's not there, things get out of whack. And so my hope would be that this is a class that could help you to at least come to a place of starting to consider that your identity is so much more than what you do for work. The problem is that we live in a society where we're prone to ask the question of what do you do, which of course is asking the question, what do you do for work? And then there's this embarrassment that sets in. What if you don't have work? Or what if you have a job that's kind of an in-between job and you're not proud of it? Or you're embarrassed by it even. It sets you up in a place that's just not healthy. So, and I think that's wrong. I think we need to change that. And so maybe it would be realizing your identity is not in what you do and then helping to change the narrative is what I would hope would happen. All right. Okay, let's keep going. Are there any course exams? No, I don't like exams. I like papers. In fact, if we could, I won't get into that a whole lot. I'm a very, very different type of educator. And so I'm a big fan of theory. I'm also a big fan of practice. But I'm not a big fan of tests or exams because a lot of people are, including myself, so maybe it's a personal preference, are very bad test takers. And so under pressure, we don't do well. And it does, I don't think, give a accurate depiction of one's intelligence or ability to succeed in school simply by doing poorly on tests. Okay, I just have just my thing. Okay, all right. So the next question, let's look at this. The next question is, what are your expectations for video presentations? Okay, be creative, but I want to be able to hear your voice. I don't need to see your face, but I want to hear your voice. Okay, so if you have questions on how to do that, let me know. But because what happens is when I'm reading these things, I don't know you. Like we've never, some of us, most of us have not ever been in class together face to face. I want to be able to hear your voice when I'm reading what it is you're writing. I want to have that more personal side of things, okay? So this upcoming presentation that I gave you some extra time on for the vocational calling assignment, I want to be able to hear, and I want our classmates to be able to hear your voice, okay? So just record that. I don't need to see it. So when I say video presentations, you could actually, like this, you could, do a screen share or something like that, and, you could have it in the corner. You could just do the screen itself and just have the voice. You could stand in front and like actually have paper here and kind of Vanna White things if you wanted. Totally up to you. But the big thing for me is I want to hear your voice. Okay. Great question. Let's see what else we got here. What are some key expectations you have first when it comes to writing assignments? Take your time, proofread your paper multiple times, walk away from your proofread paper and proofread it again. APA is required in this course, okay? So make sure that you follow APA if you're not familiar or as familiar. Purdue OWL, if you use Google Purdue OWL, it's got some great resources and it can help you with that. Yeah, really just take your time. And I think that one of the things that I see too often, and this is really unfortunate at the graduate level, is poorly written papers cause for the message of the paper to get lost. And I don't know what you're talking about if I can't get past the incorrect spelling and the poor grammar. Okay, so really take your time on the paper and make sure it flows well. And pay attention to the underline, little squiggles. I think it's the red line for misspelled and the purple or green line for incorrect grammar. Okay, load Grammarly on your website, and that'll be super helpful. Okay, what advice would you give regarding using outside source material for research, writing, assignments, etc.? Always provide citation. If it is not yours, make sure that you give credit where credit is due, and do not come anywhere close to having it appear that you are taking credit for someone else's work. I will pay it. That's a big deal. Even if you don't, have any desire to actually plagiarize, giving credit where it's due is huge in academics, right? So get in the habit and the practice of getting great resources, using the library, and then always giving credit where it's due. Okay, and if you're not sure if you should, do it. Okay, you're always better to err on the side of giving credit to somebody when it's their idea than not. Okay. Do I have a favorite reading for this class? Yes. Tim Keller, by a long shot. Every Good Endeavor. One of the best books I've read in years, maybe ever. Right. So, second to that, it's not in this course, but would be a book by Lee Hardy, Dr. Lee Hardy from Calvin College. He's a philosophy professor. Called The Fabric of This World, and I would say that was kind of like, so Luther wrote a bunch back in the Reformation days about the doctrine of vocation, which is, his writings are fantastic. Some of them are a little bit challenging to read because they're translated from German, but Lee Hardy does a great job talking about vocation. There's a question that one of you asked about, how do I basically get the thing that I love and the thing that pays the bills to be not separate, but to cross over and then intertwine. Hardy would say sometimes, in fact, rarely does that ever happen. And we can be okay with that because the doctrine of vocation helps us to rethink things. And I'll talk about that throughout the term. But I would say that the Keller text, Every Good Endeavor, is kind of the latest version of the Hardy text. And Keller wrote that book not too long ago, but it was a while ago. It's amazing. I love the foreword by Kathy Leary Alsdorf. But there's a new book out there simply called Work by, I think it's Mark Doriani, who's from Covenant Seminary in, I think, St. Louis, Missouri. And it is probably, I haven't gotten through all of it yet, but it's probably rivaling in some ways the Keller text. Just a different take, but still incredibly important book to read. So great question there. Love that. Thank you. How are groups selected? I will be talking about that next week. So wait on that. Let's see. Is APA required? Yeah. In posts, be as close as you can, especially when it comes to getting credit. What pitfalls should we avoid when completing assignments? Give credit, proofread, and pay attention to the underlined words. And then, did I mention proofread? So yeah, stay away from avoiding that. And then make sure your paper flows well. The flow of a paper is super important to me. Okay, I want properly spelled words. I want grammatically correct sentences and structure, but I want it to flow, right? Have you ever read a paper or a book, and you just kind of like get done with it? Like, I've read some papers over the years, and I just have this huge smile on my face, and I sit back and I go, "Wow, and I will always tell the student that was such a fun paper for me to read. That was so fun. Thank you for that." because it's so enjoyable to read a really well-crafted, well thought out, well communicated paper. It is such a joy to me because it shows that the students put such care and thought into that paper. Okay, so maybe that's not a what should I avoid, but what should I do? And that would be it. Make it so it's a paper that flows well, and think to yourself, will this paper, when it's read by me, be one that I sit back and go, wow, that was so fun, and do what you can to make it so. All right. What else we got here? Are we able to work ahead? Yes, but it's not advised because you might get lost. I know that some of you, it's easier to do that, and I would say it actually complicates things, so be very cautious in doing that. Is it difficult for us to learn about calling? I don't think so, but again, you're going to get out of what you put into it. So yeah, good question. I don't really need to say a whole lot more on that. Am I a tough grader? Depends on if you're a good writer, right? I mean, I think that's fair to say. So if you don't write well, then yes, I'm a tough grader. If you write well, then you get what you... I mean, let's just say it this way. I don't just give out grades. I give the grade that you deserve, okay? So I'm generous, but I am a tough grader in the sense that I expect a lot of students from their writing, right? So, but that goes all back to the idea of spelling, grammar, and good flow. If you have questions, let me know. Yeah, I'm not in a place that I can, I don't know how many, what have I got, about 15, 40, got about 50 students that I'm teaching in 4 different classes this summer, so it's quite busy for me. But I don't have time to proofread a paper before it's due. But just make sure you follow the expectations in the syllabus, and you should be pretty good, okay? And then I'll mention again, proofread your papers. How available are you for students that have questions? I'm super available. I will try to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Do you expect them to work more independently? Yes, I do, but I am always more than happy to respond to questions. Here's the one thing. There's a question down the way that says, what's your biggest pet peeve? And it was about, I think, grading. My biggest pet peeve is when students write to me, especially in the online class because we don't have the face-to-face, and they say this. Dear Professor Boyan, sorry to bother you. I should say that, and Skechers are my pet peeves. Okay, so Skechers, the shoes, and tank tops on dudes. I'm not a big fan of them, especially when you're like leaning over a salad bar after a workout. Don't even think about it. Not a good thing. But the big thing that it's not frustrating to me, but I just don't like it because my job is to be, quote, bothered by you, right? Your tuition dollars pay my salary. You should expect that I'm here to respond to questions. And so I want to do that as much as I can, okay? Now, I may say, hey, great question, check out the syllabus, or great question, watch my video, but I will always try to respond to you if I can, all right? Thanks for that. Good question. I will, again, be deciding on groups, and I'll let you know how that's going to happen. Would you like our engaging conversations with peers to start the same Wednesday after we post? It could, doesn't have to. Just make sure that you engage between you and 2 other students between after your post, could be Wednesday, could be the next day, and Sunday, right? Good question. Let's see. Are direct quotes and references necessary for all discussion posts? Absolutely. If it is not your original ideas, do not get anywhere close to acting as though it's your original idea. So if you're gonna quote something, or you're going to cite something, you're going to reference something that is not your original thought, you have to cite it. Okay, you absolutely have to cite it. Okay, good question. Let's see. Why so many books? I could have been a lot more, but this is what we have assigned, and they're amazing books, and I think they all complement, but they add in different ways things that the other books don't have. So I once taught a class that was 6 weeks long, and we read 7 books in 6 weeks. So, man, I love books. I love the smell of books, the touch of books. I love the content of books. What industries have you guided? I'm not sure exactly what that question means, but I've worked in all sorts of industries with all sorts of folks from all sorts of walks of life, if that's what you're asking. Great question. No questions is another statement. That's good. All right. So that was a really fast Reddit version, or I guess Canvas version of a Reddit Ask Me Anything. I hope that's helpful. I hope that I wasn't overly excited because I'm like super geeked out right now reading all your questions and getting to know you a little bit. But yeah, if you have other questions, feel free to email me. I'm happy to respond and help better understand what's going on in the class. So you're doing great. Keep up the good work. I look forward to the continued work that we have in the next, well, I guess now it's 6 weeks, believe it or not. Have a great weekend, and we will see you online.